Welcome to the Bill Cartwright Show with our special guest, Elk Grove alumnus, my classmate, Dennis Firenze. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate the introduction. And yes, I remember high school very well as the three amigos, you, me, and Donnie Levine. It was basketball star, baseball, golf star, right? so,
It
so
was a lot
that
of
was,
sports.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was a lot of fun. This is what I like to do. I just want everybody to get to know you really quickly.
Okay.
So why don't you just talk about, for a start, I know where you're from, but talk about where you're from, and I want you to talk a little bit about your mom and dad.
Okay, so probably a little bit of context on what drives my personality. Okay. Because I learned at a very young age that you can't change yesterday. Tomorrow may never come. So you need to accomplish all you can today because that's all you have. Now, I tell that story over and over because at 8 years old, my parents were killed in a car accident on the corner of 30th and N. I'm the only survivor. And so people ask me, why are you so spiritual, dude? I say, well, because I should have died with them, right? They didn't survive, but I did. I was only 8 years old at the time. My sister raised me because she was 17 years older. She was already, 25, 26, and had a 4 year old in the house of her own. And I basically, what happened the next year was a phenomenon because I was under so much stress after that event that at 9 years old, I actually shot up to 6'2". Now,
Wow.
there aren't many 9 year olds that are 6'2". They predicted I'd be as tall as you, 7'4", 7'6". They in third grade, there's this big tall guy in the middle, me, next to all these short people. Okay.
I understand.
I started shaving at age 9. I had all my four wisdom teeth pulled at 9 and shot up to 6'2". And believe it or not, today I'm my third grade height. I'm 6'2". That's all I am. So again, living with a mantra of I can't change yesterday. I couldn't bring my parents back. Tomorrow may never come. I should have died also. Today is all I've got. And I've lived that way my entire life. And so always believing that 10 years old will never come. You know what? 12 is impossible. I'm on borrowed time. Okay. So I thrust myself into academics and sports. And again, tried to accomplish all I could every day in both of those venues. So fast forwarding to high school, I had a coach in junior high. I was playing football, basketball, and also baseball. He said, look, you need to dump two of those sports because you're really good at baseball. You need to focus on that. And so I said, okay, I focused on that. So when I got to high school, I only played baseball. And you have to understand, Bill, that as a youngster, teenager, I had 2015 vision. So I could actually see a fastball, the seams on the ball at 100 miles an hour. I knew immediately if it was a curveball, a slider, a screwball. I mean, I knew exactly what it was. That's why from the left side, batting left-handed, I had over 400 batting average. Now, nobody in the majors has 400, okay? I had over 400 a lifetime average, some years over 500 every other time I would hit, right? Um, and, the interesting thing is when my senior year of high school, um, I actually hit 14 home runs and stole 36 bases. Okay, so what's interesting about that story is 14 years later, my nieces and nephews go through Elk Grove High School and they call me up and say, Uncle Dennis, oh my gosh, did you actually hit 14 home runs and steal 36 bases in your senior year? I said, yeah, how do you know that? Well, there's a plaque up on the wall with your name on it. I said, you need to take a picture of that. because I don't believe you. So anyway, that was an interesting story. So out of high school, I actually got drafted in the 19th round by the Cleveland Indians. Okay. And they offered a $5,000 signing bonus and a trip to Akron, Ohio. Okay. To join their AA team. Okay. So I basically had that on the table when I was being entertained by three colleges. So Stanford came forward because I had the grades in high school, 4.0, right? Perfect back when there was only a 4.0. I had perfect grades to get into Stanford. They offered a full ride scholarship. Arizona State, which was the leading school in baseball in the nation at the time in the 70s, they offered a full ride scholarship, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo offered a full ride scholarship. Okay. So I ended up that summer basically not taking the $5,000 and the trip to Akron, Ohio, because I, at the time, thought education was more important than, getting into a farm league that maybe you make it to the majors, maybe you make it to the show, as it's called, or maybe you don't, right? So I'm playing American Legion that summer, and I hit a gapper right center field up against the fence, and I'm going around first base, and the first baseman trips me. He sticks his leg out. And so I tumble and go down and end up popping my shoulder out of the socket, right? Separated shoulder right there. I had to be carried off the field because my arm was dangling, right? Now, back in those days, they didn't put a wire in it to rewire it. They basically just held it with a sling to suck it up into the socket again and hope it reattaches itself. Well, to this day, it's never reattached. It's still separated, okay, to this day. So here's why I passed on Cleveland, okay? Because what I knew at the time is that you need to hit the ball further and more accurately than anybody you know. You need to run faster than anybody you know. You need to throw more accurately and harder than anybody you know. Now, if you have all those traits and the people around you are inferior to your abilities, you can make it in the majors. You'll make it, right? So what happened to me and why I passed on Cleveland is I couldn't throw anymore because I had a separated shoulder. I mean, I couldn't even throw 20 feet without it hurting. So Arizona State came back and said, oh, wow, we're 6 people deep at first base. We'll give you a half scholarship. Stanford came back and said the same thing, half scholarship. I said, look, your tuition per year for both of you, it's $50,000. And by the way, my sister's raising me right after my parents were gone. They don't have that kind of money. Who's going to pay the other $25K if I only get half scholarship, right? Well, you'd get a job. I said, seriously, in the 70s, you're going to make $25K a year as a 18-year-old, right? No, that's never going to happen. Okay. So Cal Poly came back and said, you know what? We'll give you a full ride scholarship, pay for housing, pay for food, pay for tuition, pay for books, full ride, won't cost you a thing, right? And so I took that deal to go to Cal Poly. And the interesting thing about that was I got to play 2 years with Ozzie Smith. So, his nickname was the Wizard. You may know him from St. Louis. Yeah.
Indian was as well.
Yeah. So Ozzie, he had 14 Golden Gloves, and he signed with the San Diego Padres, and then after a year he transferred to St. Louis, or he got traded, and he had an outstanding career there. And I had the luxury of playing with him for 2 years. Now, okay, so here's the stats. He was 3.6 seconds home to first. I was 3.9. Okay, so I was a lot lighter then. I had speed. He batted first, I batted second. Even though I had the long ball, I hit home run after home run after home run, right? because I had this 2015 vision that was incredible. Um, and but then what happened after those 2 years? Oh, I was going to say, if there was a grounder to the center field that I played, I would field it. He would come all the way out to center field. Okay. Basically have me underhand the ball to him. I mean, it's almost that bad. I threw it 10 feet because my arm was gone. And he would fire a strike to home base, right? To home to get the runner out. I mean, we had that kind of relationship where he would cover for me because I had no way of hitting home plate from center field with no arm, right? No arm. So in my sophomore year, maybe it was the beginning of my junior. No, it was my sophomore year. It was the end of my sophomore year. We're playing a doubleheader. I think it was Cal Poly Pomona against Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I was playing for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I ended up in a doubleheader in the first game on a Saturday, hit 2 home runs in that game. Second game, I hit 1 home run. Now, I didn't realize there was a scout in the audience, in the stands, right? Paying attention. Apparently, he approached my coach. His name was Bertie Haar. He's no longer with us, but anyway, he asked Bertie, he said, look, this guy's got an Italian last name. Do you think he's first generation from Italy or second? He goes, you know what? Ask him. I have no idea. I have no idea. Would you have a problem with me recruiting him and signing him to go play professionally in Italy for a year? It was actually 9 months, but anyway, a whole season over there, right? Prior to it starting and then after. He said, no, I don't have a problem with that. When he comes back, he'd have to redshirt because if he's going to get paid money, he'd have to sit out a year. I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound fun to me. I'm in a hurry to get a degree, right? So anyway, I sign to play ball in Italy, and I go to work for this guy in my junior year. I basically skipped my junior year of college. Okay, so I took a bunch of books over there, big, thick economics books, and read them cover to cover. I don't have a photographic memory, but I understood enough that I could take the final when I got back and pass it. Okay, which I did when I got back. I ended up taking 16 units of finals. I went to the professors and said, look, I've been playing baseball over in Italy. I just came back. I'd like to take your final to get a grade. And they agreed to it. So I got 16 units of B's and C's, and I was happy with that, right? Not having to go to class, right?
Hey, talk about that a little bit. What's the difference in playing in Italy, which I didn't know there was a professional league to play in, but talk about that.
So I was drafted and recruited by a team called BMA Giocattoli. So BMA was a toy manufacturer like Mattel in the US. They made children's toys in Italy, and it was called BMA. Giocattoli means toy men in Italian, okay? The BMA toy men, right? BMA Giocattoli. It was similar to probably a AAA in America. I mean, they had pitchers that could throw 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and, all sorts of crazy, wacky, curveballs and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say it was major league material. It was probably AAA at best. Some were single A in potential that we would annihilate. There were basically 4 Americans brought over to play for this team. Only 1 American is allowed. All the others were called oriundo, a mix. So I was an Italian American. The other 3 of us were Italian Americans. There was 1 American, Frank Enright. He's an attorney in South Africa now. But anyway, he maybe he's retired by now. I don't know. But he was the 1 American. The rest of us were all Italian Americans. So what they found out through research is that, and I knew this story, my dad was actually born on a boat on the way from Italy to Boston in 1905. So when he landed as a 2-month-old, because to sail across the Atlantic took a couple months, right?
Yeah.
Based on the wind and the stars and and all that, right? Excuse me. And so he took a birth certificate from America for Boston. And when my grandfather introduced him to the Boston hospital, he said his name is Giovanni Firenze. So Firenze is Firenze in Italy, but in America, they spelled it with an A at the end. So, I mean, maybe too long of a story, but they ended up, the Italian government ended up changing my parents' wedding certificate, changing my parents' death certificate, changing my father's birth certificate, changing my name, my social security. They changed my social security name. They did all of this to make me first generation Italian. Okay. So I go to the island where my family's from. Okay. So anyway, this is probably boring for people, but in the 1490s, when the Medicis were in control, the bankers in Italy, there were three brothers that were public speakers. They would stand on soapboxes and speak against the taxes and against no jobs and again, you know what, the same stuff that's going on today. So they were arrested and on a wagon sent to Sicily, to a prison island. Two of the brothers escaped into Austria, but my family made it to the prison island. Now, we don't know how women got on the island for all these criminal men, but that's where we're from. So I end up going to this little island of Salina on a town called Malfa. I visit my aunt there. When I'm playing ball, I have a 2-week vacation. And so I take the train down there and the hydrofoil and the boat and the car. And anyway, I find my way to this island. And the mayor of the island takes me into the records office and he's speaking English, perfect English. Oh my gosh. And he turns the pages to 1957 at 10:06 a.m. on the 27th of September, right? From 2 days ago, my birthday. And there's an entry in there in fresh ink that I was born in Italy. That's how they fixed me being Italian. So I get an Italian passport. I get a US passport. Okay. And I travel around Italy on an Italian passport. And I had a lot of fun. And so, you know, my wife that I met in high school, Cheryl, she did a scrapbook for me a few years ago. And one of the pages, she said, what is the most important thing that happened to you in your sports career that you remember like it was yesterday? I said, you know what? I do have a memory like that because we averaged about 10 to 15,000 people per game. You know, I was a rock star giving autographs to kids and got on TV a couple times. I mean, you know, it was pretty surreal at the time. I mean, not like your career, but for me, that was pretty surreal. And so basically, what was I saying? Okay, so 10,000 people would show up. Oh, the memory. Okay, so the memory is one of those crazy stories where it's the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, right? We're losing 4-1. The bases are loaded, and I get to come to bat. Okay.
Wow. Everybody.
Again, I remember it like it was yesterday because I'm thinking, you know what? I'm a 500 batter. So the first 2 balls are curve balls for strikes. And I'm 0-2, 2 outs, bases loaded. I'm thinking, okay, this guy's going to throw a fastball. He's going to have to throw 1 fastball. He threw 3 more curveballs in the dirt. And now I'm 3-2. And I'm thinking, I know what's coming. I know exactly what to do. And I end up cranking it 400 feet out of the park and we win the game. So there's this picture in the newspaper of me crossing home with everybody, you know, hoisting me up. And I mean, it's pretty cool when you have that memory that you do something so fantastic. And the fans were going crazy and everybody screaming. I remember how loud it was. I mean, there was 15,000 people screaming, right? So anyway, I have really good memories of Italy. I was only invited one season because some of the Americans that they brought over were hot tempered and got in fights. So none of us were invited back the next year. They lumped us all into one group of 4 Americans. So, but anyway, I had a good time, and I ended up coming back to Sacramento. After that time, I ended up challenging the courses at Cal Poly. I took all of those units and transferred them to Sac State and realized I've only been to college 2 years. I took a year off, but I can finish in one more year because I only had 36 units to go. So I did an 18 and an 18 and just killed myself my senior year in college. The coach was trying to convince me to go a 5th year to redshirt because, he knew who I was. He's like, I need you on my team, right? But you have to go 5 years. I said, no, you don't understand. Education is important to me. I need it to be done. The done state. I don't need to be another year in college just to play ball. So anyway, I graduated in 4 years on the clock, but 3 years of time served, right? Which was really pretty fun. So I've got a degree from Cal State Sacramento, which is in business admin and marketing. So anyway, again, going back to my first comment, couldn't change yesterday. Tomorrow may never come. I need to accomplish all I can. So I ended up interviewing with 2 people out of college, right? They came to campus and interviewed me. And one was a group of 5 bankers. I thought I wanted to own a bank by age 30. I just thought, well, that's where their money is. I might as well, own a bank. And so these people, to me, I described as situation analysis with a 19-year-old, right? 20-year-old. They were boring and stoic. And the only word I could come up with is I don't want to be work for them or be like them. And then this sales manager comes in from NCR, National Cash Register, and he's on fire in his mid-40s. He loves his job. He goes to work every day happy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be like you, right? 20-year-old talking to a 45-year-old, right? And so I went into sales right there, graduated Saturday from Sac State, started Monday morning with NCR selling computers. And I built a career of selling servers, storage, networking, AI, security. I mean, wireless, wired. I've sold all of it. And as a matter of fact, right now, I'm in the market looking for new work because I may have told you earlier that almost 5 years with a networking infrastructure company, and my time is pretty much come to an end. So I'm looking for a new gig, especially since I relocated to Las Vegas from Sacramento.
Hey, let me ask you real quick. So we know you can't throw. So was that the determining factor in you stopping baseball? Because that's something you had played and excelled at your whole young career. So what was the decision that had to be made?
Well, I ended up in Sacramento when I came back playing night league. This is where all of the AAA pitchers came back to Sacramento, and we had a strong following in Sacramento baseball. And I would play at William Lamb Park, and I'd play at Tahoe Park. I mean, we would play all over town. I was with the what were they called? Colgis, the funeral home. Yeah, Colgis. I was playing night league with them under the lights up until I was 30. And again, I end up hitting a line drive down the right line, right? Nobody can get to it. It goes to the fence. And I'm screaming, thinking it's a triple, right? Because I'm 30 now and I'm not 19 or 20. I'm 30. And I end up tearing my hamstring on the way to first base. So there's 4 hamstrings in the back of each leg, right? I tore 3 of them in half on my left leg, just trying to create a triple out of a single. And so I end up falling flat on the ground about 5 feet short of first base because I'm in so much pain, right? If you've ever torn a hamstring, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I end up crawling with my fingernails to first base and touch it before they get me out. And then again, I'm carried off the field because I can't walk. And I realized at 30, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I can't play ball anymore because I'm still thinking I'm that 19-year-old kid. And when I hit, I still had good eyes then. And, now I've got 20/20 in this eye. So this is glass. I've got 20/30 over here, which I think I'm blind in the left eye. Coming from 2015 through my 30s and 40s, you know what? The doctors would say, you have perfect vision, 20/20. I go, no, it's blurry. I don't agree. It's perfect. When you grow up with 20/15 vision, you see clearly at distance. So it's pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But anyway, after 30 and that injury, and I had to recover for 6 weeks to get the hamstrings to repair themselves because they didn't sew them up. They just reattach, they reattach. And I was done with baseball. I was absolutely done with baseball, done with softball, done with anything that could have could have gotten injured again. And so my career was it was Cal Poly, a lot of fun. It was Italy, even more fun. Night league was fun until I was done. So that was my baseball career. I did get to coach Little League over in Italy because my day job, we played at night every night at 9 o'clock until, midnight. And then we go to dinner after that. And then we top it off with fresh donuts and vodka shots at 2:30 in the morning when the donut shops opened. I
Wow.
mean, that was my life, right? Play till midnight, go to dinner, and then top it off with fresh donuts at 2:30 in the morning. So, but anyway, I really enjoyed Italy, but I like you, I'm amazed that the women that we met in high school are still with us because I don't know about you, Bill, but I made a lot of mistakes in life. Financial, houses. I mean, relocating 20 times, right? Here to Chicago, to San Diego, to Arkansas, to, you know what? I've lived in 20 homes, which was a mistake. And so, anyway, I'm just happy that our wives have stuck with us for so long because you and I are unique in the world with that, right? And I love my wife dearly, and we're actually still friends today, which is amazing. So amazing. So
Yeah, we'll get back to that. But let's go back because what you do is not easy. Not everybody's a salesperson. So, how was that natural, or did you have somebody mentor you to help to teach you that?
yeah, I did. I'm still connected to the guy that trained me because my personality is extroverted, right? I'm not an introvert, I'm an extrovert. So I'm not afraid to talk to you in a natural language right now. I'm not afraid to talk to strangers about what issues they're dealing with. And what he taught me is basically you have two ears and one mouth. You need to listen more than you talk. Okay. Although on this podcast, we're not doing that.
Well,
so,
this is your podcast.
so, so my buddy, his name is John Sinclair, and he took me on sales calls and he started walking through questions that he would ask that were open-ended to customers, and I'm paying attention. He wouldn't offer anything for sale. He wouldn't offer any product information. He wouldn't offer anything. He just wanted to know what was on their mind, what keeps them up at night, what are the problems you're trying to solve. And I thought, interesting. He's got a product to sell, but he hasn't mentioned it at all in the first hour of this meeting. The customer goes on, right? They start explaining, here's what the problems are, here's what the issues are, understaffed, underpaid, whatever it is, right? And he would figure out, well, if there was a solution to solve that, would you be interested in hearing about it? Just like a soft pedal is what I call it, not a forceful sales guy. And so I learned my early techniques from this guy, where now when I talk to customers that have my competitive product in it, I ask questions. How's it going? How's it working? How is the implementation? How is the deployment? How is this solving problems, right? Are your users having a better experience? Is your management having a better experience? I mean, I just ask a bunch of questions, and then from there, I can gauge whether there's opportunity for me or I should just walk away. Now, 9 out of 10 times when a competitor's product's installed, you walk away, but at least they can't unhear what you might have had to offer. Like right now, the company I'm with, we monitor 150 things that can go wrong with an end user. Any connected device, doesn't matter. IoT or smartwatch, smartphone, laptop, doesn't matter. It's all unique in the market. None of our competitors do what we do. The question is, how do you find an open mind that wants to hear it? Because once you hear it, you can't unhear it, right? And so I take the attitude that I need to talk to as many customers as I can on a daily basis. Because again, I live for today, only today, not tomorrow, may never come. Can't change yesterday. So every day I make my calls to find out if I can solve any problems. And that's really what it's all about. And so, for example, I've had, like you've had, a long multi-decade career, right? You much more successful than me, but I've had a very successful career selling. And the problem is your resume becomes 4 pages long and nobody cares. Nobody wants to read that. So literally in the last few weeks, when you ran into me at my Sacramento office, Starbucks, I changed my credentials on my website. I have my own website. I changed my credentials on my resume, and I changed my credentials on LinkedIn, which is the business site for business people. And I basically have only gone back 10 years now because nobody cares about what I did 30 years ago, even though I've done 1.5 billion in sales in my life, right? If you live for today, a lot of business gets thrown off, right? You sell a lot of products, and 1.5 billion in lifetime production is a lot. And the good news is I got a percentage of all that, right? So in commissions. So but anyway, I basically got trained by this guy, and I've used that technique all the way. Now I've changed all my credentials because I've been with this company almost 5 years. I've been with the previous company almost 4. So 3.5 and 4.5, basically. So 8 years. So I've got that longevity of those two companies, 4.5, 3.5. And then I have 2 years of previous experience. So I basically say I've been in these industries, selling these products, carrying these titles. That's it. It's 2 sentences, 3 sentences. And oh, by the way, 1.5 billion in personal production. If you want to ask me a question about that, I can tell stories till the cows come home, right? Walmart for 2 years, $300 million relationship I developed that to a year, right? I mean, I can tell stories, but the problem is every job that's available now, there's 150 people that apply for them. And you have to somehow get screened in versus screened out. So that's why I changed it to 10 years. It's a 1-pager now again, because I want to look attractive to people. And so because I still want to work, Bill. I mean, you and I, we're old enough to retire. I get it. And Cheryl keeps telling me, you just need to retire this month and be done. I'm like, you know what? I still want to work. I don't want to retire because I have goals, and they include buying a Tesla. And right now, retirement can't afford that. So anyway, so that's kind of my story. I never look back on my relationship with my girlfriend from high school, my wife now. I never look back on my career, having a stellar sales career, because that mantra I live by. I don't sit on my hands every day. I've got more energy than that. I don't want to sit on my hands every day. I want to, get out there and help somebody solve a problem is what it's all about. So customer focused is what all my credentials say now. I'm just customer focused on solving problems. That's all I do. And by the way, people buy a lot.
Hey, let's talk about this. I was fortunate to be able to play with a really great team, Chicago Bulls. And one of the reasons it was a great organization is because everybody was fully invested, and our coaches were teachers of basketball. And it was a real, it was great because I did learn a lot.
Yeah.
About the best company you've worked for and why?
It would have to be my 11-year run with Hewlett Packard. Okay. Giant corporation selling servers. I was calling on the state of California. I did over $100 million with Caltrans alone. Okay. Over a 4-year period. I mean, in my last year before they put me in charge of Walmart worldwide, I got an $8.5 million quota, and everybody else in the group that reported to the same manager got 1.5. And I'm like, I told the boss, I said, wait a minute, I got to sell 8.5, and Brian here's going to make the same W-2 as selling 1.5. He goes, yeah, you have more opportunity. I go, okay, again, it is what it is the comment I always get, right? That year I did 36 million. I made the whole district, the whole region, the whole VP's number. So I ended up making President's Club. I got to meet Bill Hewlett in person before he passed away. Packard had already died. And I mean, that was phenomenal to meet somebody that started in a garage, right? Over in Palo Alto. And he was a pleasant gentleman. He was in his late 70s when I met him, early 80s. And so I mean, just a delightful guy, right? So Bill Hewlett, I got that. That was probably the most exciting part of my career that I enjoyed the most. I don't know if I'd think of a second one. I guess it's always been focused on government, is where all my success has come from. I've done multiple $5 million deals with the last two companies here, over in Sacramento, Franchise Tax Board and Department of Water. And I mean, a lot of it's been focused on public sector. But I did get a chance to do a lot of international travel when I was running Walmart for 2 years, because there were meetings in Singapore, and there were openings in, China. And, I got to take a trip down to Santiago, Chile, in South America, Europe many times. And so I have had international jobs, which were fun. I mean, logistics were difficult, but it was fun being the stranger coming into town as an expert, right? That's always respected more than the local person. And so I did enjoy that as well, doing the international travel, Canada quite a few times. Um, but I found myself with security companies that did strong user authentication products back when there were tokens back in that day. Now, these phones are our security product, right? They basically send you a text message to authenticate you with a number. Okay, so I was in that business when it was a special token that you would use to do like wire transfers between banks and stuff. So that was fun. That was fun. But I mean, I've had a lot of experience with a lot of different industries and a lot of knowledge. Made a lot of money. But the question is, can I still work? That's the question is on my mind right now. I don't know if I can.
Let's do this really quickly. Now, you like me, you travel a lot. So after I left here, I went to New York, then I went to Chicago, went to Seattle, came all the way back, went back to Chicago, went to Jersey, went to Phoenix, came all the way back to Chicago. Then I ended up going to Japan, came all the way back, and then I ended up going to the Mexican national team, and now I'm back at USF. Talk about your journey. How many spots have you been?
Any visiting spots or living spots?
Where you worked? How many different places have you worked?
Oh my gosh, I've been in
Because you've moved a lot.
Sacramento. Okay, you've heard of the figure eight, right? So yeah. I took a job in Arkansas from Sacramento to run Walmart worldwide for Hewlett Packard. And then they moved me to Chicago to run United Airlines. Okay. I got stuck in Chicago for 5 houses worth of moving around.
Yeah, I know. I saw you.
For 10 years, I lived there. Oh, I was going to tell you a story. My buddy in Evanston just went and looked at your house. He may put an offer in on it. So
Like,
the house that you lived in Northbrook
um,
or Evanston, where was it?
was in Lake Forest, actually.
Lake Forest.
Um,
Okay. So my best friend back in Chicago, he called me literally 2 days ago and said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this. Uh, my my wife and I, we toured Bill Cartwright's house over the weekend, and we may put an offer." And I said, "What? You're kidding?" So it's a beautiful house. I said, "I know. I've been there." So anyway, small story. Okay, so Sacramento to Arkansas, up to Chicago for 10 years. Then on purpose, when our youngest child, Casey, she was in 8th grade, we moved to San Diego on purpose, planned on dying there because paradise on earth is San Diego. Loved it. Carlsbad, Vista area, beautiful. Um, and then relocated up to Sacramento. So we did a complete figure eight and returned right back to Sacramento. I ended up I don't know if I want to say this, but after 9/11, I was out of work 6 of the next 12 years because I was over 40 and I couldn't find a job. Not even for minimum wage. I mean, I couldn't find any job. So anyway, I would have jobs that, I mean, I've been with 22 companies. So I would have jobs that would last 3 months. I would have jobs that would last 9 months, 22 months. They would come and go, and then I'd be out for 6 months, and then I'd be out for 9 months, and then I'd be out looking for work, right? So this job search is not new to me. I've done it a lot in life. But we made a decision earlier this year to put our house on the market in Fair Oaks, which is 20 miles east of downtown. So um, we ended up getting an over asking price offer in one day. And we took all of that California equity and paid cash in Las Vegas for a home. And we have money left over. Okay. After improving the property that we bought. So the goal was, as I approach retirement, which could be in a month, could be in 5 years. I want to work 5 more years. We no longer have a mortgage and we own our cars and we have very little credit card debt, which will be gone by March. So our goal was, we took the classes over through our church from, Dave Ramsey in Nashville. You've heard of him probably. He does Financial Peace University, and his whole mantra is become debt free at the earliest age you can possibly do it, right? It's his advice to everybody, right? If you can be debt free at 20, do it because you'll be a multimillionaire in your working career over life. Well, we got that memo over 10 years ago and did not heed it, did not pay attention until 6 months ago when we were on this path now to be debt free because I don't want to carry any debt to my family after I'm gone or have any debt while I'm still here. I don't want to have any more debt. So I'm basically close to being 100% debt free. And so the question is, not looking at the nest egg that we recently invested at 12% return in a bond, not looking at that money, but trying to figure out how, when Social Security hits, we can survive. Okay. So that's the mode that we're in right now. Is our overhead is down to less than 1,700 a month. So if Social Security kicks in, and I heard a rumor it's going to go up again this year under the socialist leaders we have around the country, which is a good thing for me and you. So anyway, the bottom line is we'll be able to survive and have money left over on Social Security, which is exactly where I want to be. Because we want to travel and visit our kids. Our daughter lives in New York City. She moved during COVID, loves it. She's in the lower Manhattan, West Village of lower Manhattan. And she's in a sea of 20 somethings. She's 29 and everybody's 20 in that neighborhood. It's crazy. She moved there during COVID when New York was on sale, 40% vacancy, people giving away months of free rent, dropping the rents. I mean, she's got a good setup there and a good job in New York. And so, and our son lives up outside Seattle. So we'd like to visit them in retirement, because they're not going to come visit us. I believe, I don't know if your kids visit very often, but you're probably close to them now. So some of them are still in Sacramento. So anyway.
Yeah, one of the 4 kids is in Sacramento. So, but we go to Chicago a lot. Everybody else is there.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I don't know what else you want to talk about, but
I do think it's interesting because I don't really plan on retiring ever unless it can, So you said you feel like you got 5 more years in it.
well, I would like to work 5 more years. I have the energy. I'm down 25 pounds this year. I want to be down another 25 next year, and another 25 year after that. So I'm going to get down to my married weight or my playing weight or my something weight because I want to stay healthy. I'm still athletically physical. I cycle about 3,000 miles a year right now. I love cycling. And so that's why we love living by the American River bike trail.
So what kind of, is that a special bike? Now, my only natural sport I do is cycle. That's the only thing I do naturally.
Yeah.
So I would ride on the bike path with these guys, and they were probably like, how can this guy go this fast? That's the only thing that I could do naturally. So do you have a special bicycle that you like to ride?
Oh, okay. So in 1986, I had a buddy who raced for Schwinn say, you need to get out with me every morning to go 15 miles. And on Saturdays, we're going to do 100. Okay. So he got me into cycling in 1986. So I was, 25 or 6 then. I don't know. I can't remember what age I was, but I ended up buying the first Trek composite bicycle for $800 back then. It weighed 20 pounds and I rode that thing for 50,000 miles. And then in 2012, literally 11 years ago, what was I doing 11 years ago? Oh, I was unemployed. And Cheryl, my wife, ended up trading in all of her gold jewelry that I had purchased for her over life. So gold bangles, gold necklaces, gold. I mean, all her gold, $3,500 worth of gold when it was at $17.50 an ounce. So she ended up buying me a new Trek Madone 5.2. It weighs 16 pounds. Okay. And it supports, 300. And so I'm not 300 now. I'm 260, but anyway, I'm headed to 220. So, anyway, it's a 16-pound bike that I've got now in 11 years, probably 20,000 miles. I mean, 20,000 miles at least. So, and then I have a Peloton too. So typically during a work week, I'd be on the Peloton at 6 a.m. for 30 minutes. And then on the weekends, I'd go out for 30 or 40 miles. So I was in Sacramento the last 3 weeks, not this week, but the previous 3 weeks. And I got in 60 miles on my bike because I hauled my bike up there, played golf a couple times, playing golf next week, as a matter of fact, when I'm back up there again. And so, but I love cycling. I had a doctor tell me you have the heart of a 30-year-old when I was twice that age, until AFib hit. So I guess the net on that is, I think I told you over coffee last week, I've had 2 ablation surgeries this year and they worked. Oh my gosh, 100%. Sinus rhythm in recovery and ever since June 19th. Okay. I am a happy camper because I got on my bike for 60 miles a couple weekends ago in Sacramento on the bike trail. Went down to Old Sac once and back. That was 40, and then went up to Folsom Lake, and that was 20. And so, anyway, my heart rate didn't get over 120, and I was pushing it hard, trying to keep up with those youngsters. Oh, keeping up with the e-bikes that passed me like I'm standing still. Yeah.
That's me.
So,
That's what I need.
so I ordered an e-bike a year ago on my birthday 2 days ago. I ordered it a year ago, and it hasn't arrived yet. I just emailed them on my birthday 2 days ago, and I said, "Hey, here's the deal. If you can't deliver this e-bike by the 15th of October, send my money back. I'm done with you. It's been a year. Either you're not manufacturing them anymore or you've never manufactured them because I can't figure out what takes a year. COVID's over. Come on." So anyway, I'm gonna probably graduate to an e-bike as soon as it arrives, just because I live in a hilly part of Vegas now. We're in the northwest side in Summerlin, and it's hilly here. It's got yeah, I climbed 1,100 feet in 5 miles on my first ride here. Took me an hour at 5.5 miles. I went 5.5 miles in an hour straight uphill, 1,100 feet. Came down in 20 minutes at 40 miles an hour. so so that was pretty crazy, but like I said, it's pretty hilly here, but I love cycling. I the athlete in me still likes to get out there and beat my time or pass somebody, or you know what, I'm still competitive that way, where my sports background comes out, in a positive way, because I like racing people. So
Well, be careful with that. I don't think there's any crashes for us.
I've only I've only crashed once in my life. I was in Carlsbad and I was coming down the hill 20 miles an hour. The light was green and I took a right turn, but a kid stepped off the curb to cross without the walk sign on. He just stepped off and I ended up hitting him head on. I flipped backwards over the bike onto my back with the bike sticking straight up in the air. And I slid into the intersection. My wind was knocked out of my breath was, all the wind goes out. And when it does, you can't get it back in. You're like, you know what? If it's empty, you can't get it back in. So all the cars stopped. They came up. They're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, I couldn't talk because I had no air in my lungs. And so I put my finger up and I say, 1 minute, just give me a minute. And I eventually drew an air in and was able to say, "I'm fine. I don't feel like I broke anything. Let me see if I can get up." And so I get up. I had one little scrape on a knee. I opened up the kid's arm because I hit him on tricep, tricep, and it ended up cutting him. But anyway, that's the only crash I've ever had, and I was able to walk away from it because when I flipped over the bars, my wheels didn't bend, they didn't get wacko. The bike was in perfect position over my head. The body took the brunt, and so that's the only crash I've had. So anyway, I'm a lot more careful now. I'm a lot more careful now. So,
Well, Dennis, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
well, I appreciate you inviting me and cutting me off last week and saying, "I don't want to hear the story. I want you on my podcast." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's do it." So, all right. I appreciate it.